Bringing you the latest news from around the world, and here at home, I'm Sandru Ferdinando.
And I'm Nicola De Souza. We start off with our top stories.
Cabinet decides to move May Day celebrations to the 7th of May. SLFP ministers hint on the party's stance on the no-confidence motion against the Prime Minister. Candidates make startling revelations on offers made to appoint local government heads. ICC suspends Zimbabwe cricket official from game for 20 years after fixing attempt.
Authoritative government sources have now confirmed that former Sri Lanka ambassador to Russia, Udayanga Weeratunga, having been arrested in the United Arab Emirates last Saturday, is now being detained in Abu Dhabi. This follows a detailed operation partnered between government and UAE authorities. Top government officials are now taking steps to have him brought down to Sri Lanka to be surrendered to the magistrate who issued his warrant of arrest.
Cabinet has decided to move May Day celebrations to the 7th of May. President Maithripala Sirisena made this announcement at an event in Colombo today.
This event at the BMICH took place to hand over credentials to the most venerable Ganthune Assajitero, who was elected to the post of chairman of the Sri Lanka Amarapura Mahasangha Sabha. Vesak Full Moon Poe Day also falls on that day. The Venerable Theros addressed a letter to me and the Prime Minister to promote activities related to Buddhism for a period of 1 week. Today, Cabinet convened, and following a request made, the Cabinet has decided to move May Day celebrations to the 7th of May.
Cabinet has decided to appoint a committee of intellectuals to review the ban imposed on glyphosate. The Minister of Agriculture further elaborated after the Cabinet meeting.
A committee of intellectuals with representation from agrarian organizations and ministry officials will convene before the President, and they will be vested with responsibilities. They will consider the present situation and all decisions that have been made, enabling us to make a decision. This committee will be appointed, and we called on Venerable Ratana Thero as well on the matter. I, as the Agriculture Minister, the Minister of Plantations and the Minister of Health will not attend these meetings. The committee has paved the way for the intellectuals to make their decision. The respective members will be appointed shortly. I have requested Venerable Ratana Thero to include the names he wishes to be in the committee. There is no fear. He is not a person to be feared. We do not fear monks. We always respect him. In our religion, we should always show respect. We don't have to fear Venerable Ratana Thero. We show him our respect.
Today, Cabinet convened under the auspices of the President and the Prime Minister, and today the President had made a very strong statement with regard to the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. Now, it is the CCEM, or the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, chaired by the Prime Minister, that takes all policy-related decisions when it comes to the economy, development projects, constructions, and so on. Now, ahead of the local government elections, you might remember the President made a very strong statement. He said, for the past 3 years, the UNP has been given the task of managing the economy, and since nothing fruitful has transpired, he will be taking matters into his own hands, and thereafter he appointed something called the National Economic Council. Now today in Cabinet, it is reported that the President had presented this National Economic Council documents to Cabinet, and these members were also appointed recently. Now recently the President undertook a visit to Japan. And Japan is the country where the Taisei Corporation is established, which is involved in the third phase of the Central Expressway. Now, some of these officials are already behind bars in Japan. Now, don't forget the Hornet tire factory, the Volkswagen factory in Kuliapija, which was promised. And from there on, there were many things that came about. All these decisions were taken based on the policies adopted by the Cabinet Committee on Economic Management. However, with the decision taken by the President, starting today, there will be no more Cabinet Committee on Economic Management, and all that will be making the decisions regarding the economy, policy decisions regarding the economy, will be the National Economic Council. It's back to the main desk.
It is being reported that large amounts of money is changing hands in order to appoint chairman and deputy chairman for local government bodies. Election observers claim at some locations money from the range of 1 million to 100 million has been gifted for support.
There is no place for community leaders in the country. Do you have funding? If there is no funding, there is no nomination. That is the political culture that prevailed. We have changed that culture. That was the stance of the subject minister on the electoral system that was created after passing through parliament to appoint a public representative responsible for the electorate rather than opting for the preferential votes. However, the ground situation is completely different from the minister's stance. There was a tense situation when the chairman of the Puttalam Urban Council was elected today. K.A. Bais from the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress was elected as the chairman and Susanta Pushpakumara from the Sri Lanka Podujana Perumana was elected deputy chairman. At the elections, the SLMC and UNP secured 7 seats each. In addition, the SLPP has 2 seats, the SLFP has 1 seat and 2 others were elected from independent groups. Though a chairman was to be elected for the Chilau Urban Council today, it did not take place due to the lack of quorum. The council comprises of 20 members and for a vote there needs to be at least 10 members present. However, on this occasion only 9 members were present in the council. The UNP members opposed to postpone the sittings and the local government commissioner was escorted out of the premises by police personnel. An independent group secured the control of the Talawakale Lindula Urban Council despite the Sri Lanka Podujana Perumana obtained majority votes. When the chairman was being elected, the UNP and an independent group supported another independent group today.
Based on the results of the local government election, not a single party has been able to establish power across more than half of the 340 local government bodies. Therefore, elected members across many local government institutions opted for a vote to elect the chairman or the mayor. Today, an Arnayaka Pradesh Sabha member openly admitted that she accepted a bribe and voted for the UNP member when the vote for the chairman of the Pradesh Sabha took place yesterday.
They discussed to vote for the UNP. A former member also pledged support. I voted for that. Ultimately, nobody had voted. I am the only one who had voted. I was given 200,000 rupees and I returned it. A journalist, a politician and a Samurdhi officer are involved in this.
I got word that 3.2 million had been obtained. She was only given 200,000 rupees. It is clear they were elected chairman and deputy chairman after buying off support from the members.
Sri Lanka Freedom Party Nigambu electorate organizer and urban councillor W.D. Lalit M. Silva said he was approached with a bribe when establishing power in the urban council.
They approached me with an offer in the millions, which include a vehicle and the post of deputy chairman.
Councillor from the Democratic United National Front, Ruan Callum, revealed he too was approached with a bribe when establishing power in the Kotikawatta area Pradesh Sabha.
A person connected to the UNP approached me with money. I was first offered 10 million rupees. When that was revealed, the others tried to offer 15 million to me. However, I never betrayed myself or my party for those millions.
Not a single political party has been able to secure power in more than 50% of the local government bodies. Therefore, they need the support of other parties to elect their chairman and deputy chairman. Sadly, these public representatives are brought off from 1 million rupees to 10 million rupees. That is the price they are brought off for. This is the sad situation.
The people and the political parties were in favor of the concept for a more just electoral system rather than opting for the preferential vote system. That is why a parliamentary select committee was appointed in 2003 and a bill was created in 2012. That is how this local government election took place. However, later issues arose once the new government was elected in 2015. There were issues in the bill that came from 2012. What actually happened was several political party representatives came together to make changes and did it to some extent. The issue has arisen because of those changes. If the number of electorates in the 2012 bill existed, only 30% of the defeated members will be elected. If that existed, the very day after the elections were held, the party which secured the majority would have been able to establish power. However, both the 2015 and 2017 acts requested for 25% female representation. With that introduction, the 30% defeat concept was raised to 40%. This was converted into a proportionate system. This is why there is instability among the local government bodies. We are seeing result of those actions.
This system is in total disarray. We have secured a massive victory in the Colombo Municipal Council, but in other areas you can see that the situation is a complete mess. So this has to be re-amended to create a path to take this administration forward.
It is not going according to the public mandate. It is in complete disarray. If we, our party, comes into power, we will change this electoral system entirely.
The motion of no confidence against the Prime Minister will be taken up in Parliament next week. However, Deputy Minister Palitha Thevaraperuma yesterday revealed there could be money involved in this process as well.
Many seek benefits, positions and money. Some want ministerial positions. If Malik is capable of meeting those demands, I think we will be able to win the no confidence motion. If we are unable to do so, and if we all raise our hands, an unknown force will emerge and defeat it.
Party leaders will convene in Parliament tomorrow for a discussion on the no confidence motion. Yet the Sri Lanka Freedom Party is to announce their position on the matter.
You will be able to witness the position of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party on the motion of no confidence on the 4th of April. We have not fixed a date. We hope to decide as a party and obtain the approval of the Central Working Committee. When you speak about the motion of no confidence, you would have noted many of the matters raised by members in our party and in the United People's Freedom Alliance have been highlighted in the motion of no confidence. Therefore, the SLFP and the UPFA will have to reach a decision on this matter. As a party and the alliance, it is difficult for us to oppose to this. We have no desire to topple the government. We have no desire to give the power of toppling the government of good governance to another faction. We would invite those who created this to come and make the change for a more broad national government.
Field Marshal Saad Fonseca was questioned by the media today on the motion of no confidence against the Prime Minister.
Muslim Congress
Now, what is your view about the recently concluded local government elections? You are the voter and you would have your own view. Let us guess, is it pain, is it disgust, or is it even disappointment? There are always two sides to a story. Now, while the local government election results were announced and now there is a struggle going on in order to establish control over certain local government bodies, political parties are convening daily press conferences. Sometimes there's more than 20 a day. Why do they convene these press conferences? It's simply because they want to show their power and their might, and they want to show how they want to cling onto that power and also come back into power. The local government elections. The people wanted a just and equal system on elections, and now the political parties themselves are claiming that this electoral system has created a massive issue and it's a complete mess. You heard the views mentioned by certain local government politicians, how the price tag on certain politicians ranged from 1 million to 10 million rupees and sometimes even more. Previously, when an election for the local government bodies took place, around 4,000 members were elected across the country. But this time, that number doubled and almost reached 9,000, which means the expenses are also doubling. Now, recently, fuel prices were increased, and who got affected? It is now reported that milk powder is also likely to increase. If milk powder is increased, who will be affected? Following the increase in fuel prices, the private buses are now claiming if the CPC goes on to increase their prices as well, they too will have to take some sort of decision. The same goes to the railways. They too say their tariffs have to be increased. Now, at such a situation, the politicians are exchanging money, as a witness from the statements that were made, and their families and their children go to good schools, they enjoy luxury, and also make the maximum use of public property. Remember, it is the people who are paying the price. It is the people who are ultimately paying from their pockets for these politicians. If this is the situation at a local government election, just imagine the situation at a provincial council election or even a parliamentary election. Many have come forward to say that politicians are not looking at the people anymore. Now, when Newsfirst toured certain areas in the northeast and the north central province, we came across villages where people come to our reporters, come to our cameramen and say they have nothing to eat, they have no way of finding food, and ultimately they will have to eat the sand on the ground. Now, that is a situation across many areas in the country. At the same time, the currency value is falling gradually, and the country, according to many experts, is going into a far worse situation when it comes to the economy. So there are always two sides to a coin, and we explain to you what is happening at the local government level across all local government bodies, where people are coming forward and saying how money is being used to buy off their support, and at the same time how people across many areas in the country are finding it difficult even to afford one meal per day. It's back to the news desk.
Thank you, Zulfik, and more local news after this short commercial break. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. Newspapers reported today a deal has been sealed to sell some of the key EAP Group assets to a Singapore-based investment holding company, with Sri Lanka's central bank giving the green light to proceed with the deal. They had only 45% of the company would be sold.
Recently, the central bank had taken regulatory action on ETI Finance Limited and Swarna Mahal Financial Services PLC. The action was taken with a view to safeguard the interests of the depositors and other creditors of the two companies and to ensure safety and soundness of the financial system. Today, the Mirror Business newspaper reported the assets that will be sold under the $75 million deal would be Swarna Mahal Financial Services PLC, EAP Films and Theatres Private Limited, EAP Broadcasting Company Limited and Swarna Mahal Jewellers. They further said EAP Group is likely to receive an advance payment running into several billion today, and the deal may be completed by end April. When News First inquired, a senior ranked officer at the Central Bank of Sri Lanka said the investor that had come forward was Singapore-based Blue Summit Capital Management. Our investigations revealed this company was incorporated in Singapore on the 12th of January 2018. Two individuals by the name of Cyril Rodrigo and Omar Kandil serve as board directors in this company. Interestingly, Omar Kandil was also a director in Supreme Sat, which was involved in the project to launch a satellite during the previous government. Supreme Sat is a company owned by Ramasamy Muthusamy Manivannan, and he was the main shareholder of the company involved in the Horton Square development project down Horton Place. Another person listed as a shareholder and involved in the project is Jayasudhir Jayaram, and he was recently detained at the Katanaike airport for attempting to illegally carry foreign currency overseas. The newspapers that reported the incident went on to say Britain-based Leica Mobile was preparing to purchase the EAP Group, and Jayasudhir Jayaram had arrived in the country for an intermediary role. However, how can one decide to sell off one of the leading companies in the country to a company that was just incorporated a few months ago? For your attention.
Inauguration of Trincomalee 2018 under the theme Secure and Safe Bay of Bengal for Common Development and Prosperity was held in Colombo this morning. The forum was organized by the Pathfinder Foundation in collaboration with Carnegie India and Vivekananda International Foundation.
State Minister of Defence.
The event was attended by State Minister of Defence Ruwan Wijewardena, Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy, Japanese Ambassador to Sri Lanka Kenichi Sugunuma and other dignitaries.
There are also several politically and security-wise unstable states in the Indian Ocean region, which add to the volatility of strategic maritime security. Also presence of non-state actors such as pirates, terrorists, hijackers, illegal fishing, religious extremists, and smugglers of weapons, narcotics, and humans make maritime security a complex task. We need a collaborative approach, we need partnership, we need fresh thinking, and we need to work together to protect the common heritage of the oceans for present and future generations.
The small countries in the region have tended, and as small countries which are neighbors to much larger countries all over the world feel, have historically thought of India as much as a threat as an opportunity. But now I think the way India's political interests, global interests on the one hand, and its economic development on the other are evolving, I think the opportunities far outweighs any potential threat. But clearly those of us in the region would need to be sensitive to India's geopolitical interests. I think we in Sri Lanka have learnt the hard way that there are some red lines that one needs to be conscious of. That is the reality of geography, which we can't get away from.
The forum was held to review the unfolding geostrategic significance and assess the regional security cooperation demands in the Bay of Bengal.
But I'd like to caution on just one thing which I have observed, though not as a specialist, and that is in over-optimism about the rate of growth and consequent overcapacity in terms of infrastructure and other such capital-consuming initiatives. Infrastructure and connectivity greatly enhance trade and development, but it can also be a drag if they sort of preempt the development of particular regions and the local demand and local manufacturing capacity. For example, Bay of Bengal trade. The trade figures and the GDP growth figures are not that great as yet. And the trade in the Bay of Bengal from the local countries and local nations has yet to reach any sort of critical mass for inviting the huge sort of activity that we saw in Southeast Asia in the beginning or the end of the last century.
Last week, UNP MP Ravi Karunanayake slammed the central bank, saying it was responsible for the bond scam and the present economic crisis. However, experts in the sector say the government must be held accountable for the present economic situation.
Soon after the election of the government in 2015, the Prime Minister took the control of the central bank as the minister in charge of the central bank, freeing itself or removing it from the control of the finance minister. Along with that, the finance minister and a group of selected UNP ministers took the entire control of the economic affairs of this country. Therefore, if anybody is to be blamed for the economic crisis that we are facing today, it is Mr. Ravi Karunanayake should be told that it is no one else other than his own leader and his own party and his own Prime Minister who should be blamed for that, because he took complete control of the economic affairs, he and a selected group of his choice.
In 2015, the governor of the central bank was Arjuna Mahendran, and he was invited by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe to take up the post as governor. Following the Treasury bond issue in February 2015, the Prime Minister defended Mahendran in Parliament more than once. However, at present, Arjuna Mahendran is listed as suspect number 1 in the case filed with the 4th Magistrates Court over the Treasury bond scam. Last week, a warrant was issued for his arrest and he still remains missing.
Head of School Management of Queensland University of Technology, Professor Rowena Barrett, spoke on innovation and entrepreneurship at the CEO's Forum organised by Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka this morning.
So entrepreneurship is that transformation of innovation into commercial or societal value. It occurs at the nexus of opportunities that innovation brings and individuals. Innovation is the opportunity, but those opportunities need to be made real, and it's individuals who do that. So, as I say, the very narrow view of being an entrepreneur or entrepreneurship is around starting a new venture. But the broader view is that entrepreneurship is an array of skills that individuals use to transform opportunities.
The deployment of 101-member Sri Lankan army contingent in Lebanon under UN command has been delayed pending clearance by Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka. The delayed contingent is part of 150-strong 12th Force Protection Company for the United Nations Interim Force in Lebanon.
According to the island, authoritative military sources said the army headquarters had received instructions from the UN that officers and men assigned for overseas deployment under UN command should be cleared by the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka. The newspaper goes on to say the instructions had been received soon after 49 members of the contingent left for Lebanon. 6 officers and 43 men left for Lebanon on the 18th and 19th of February.
And with that, we wrap up Primetime News, but stay tuned because coming up next is an exclusive interview with President of Eisenhower Fellowships, George Dinama.
For the Newsfirst team, I'm Nicola De Souza.
And I'm Sandro Ferdinando. Do take care and good night.